It's time, Fort Wayne. Your sports, your station. It's the Sports Rush with Brett Rump. Covering all the topics that hit a nerve here in the Summit City.
Clark, 11 yards, touchdown.
Only on 1380 The Fan and 100.9 FM. Now here's your host, Brett Rump.
The greatest, most interesting, most important person of all time.
You are incredible.
Older than one. Yeah, well, you're half right.
What is this, amateur hour?
This is going to be huge.
I believe this is going to be our finest hour.
Just when I think you've said the stupidest thing ever, you keep talking.
I think that's the worst thing I've ever heard.
That boy ain't right.
The simplest way to put it, I have problems.
Welcome to the alleged show.
Let's go home on a Wednesday. It is a hump day edition of the Sports Rush, your daily local sports fix, 4 to 6. I am Brett Rump along with Adam Lundy, and we've got you connected on the Parvkiew Sports Medicine text line at 260-447-8500. Questions, comments, or suggestions. We would love to hear from you on this hump day. 260-447-8500. We've got the countdown to the TinCaps opening day. It's just a couple of days away behind the scenes. We're doing some audio checks, making sure everything's ready for the big broadcast coming up on Friday. You'll get a chance to hear Jaden Taylor with the legendary historian of TinCaps baseball, Mike Maz. He'll be along on Friday night as well. Let's hope the weather holds up. The forecast a little iffy for this weekend.
Yeah, I mean, Mother Nature trying to play spoiler to what will otherwise be a fantastic TinCaps opening weekend at Parvkiew Field. But, yeah, just hold it off.
Making tonight even a little bit iffy.
Yeah.
I mean, we've got a little window right now, and hopefully the weather holds up, and we'll be able to have the events at Parvkiew Field tonight for fans to come out and get a chance to meet the team. Also a chance to see around Parvkiew Field somewhat and get a look at some of the behind the scenes of Parvkiew Field. But that is happening tonight, and we're going to talk to John Nolan and get all the details of what fans can expect and get the latest as far as what it looks like weather-wise. The team scheduled to practice. I think they're just doing some hitting in the cage because of the heavy rain that we had earlier today.
Yeah, I got to give the field a little bit of time to drain all that water, but good drainage system there at Parvkiew Field.
Alarm wake you up this morning, or did Mother Nature decide to wake you up this morning? There was a lot of thunder, boom, bang.
Yeah, well, as you know, I'm currently dog sitting for the family.
Oh, that's right. Did the dogs make a lot of noise?
Well, I'll tell you what, this is an English bulldog, and she could care less about the weather.
Really?
Could care less. I mean, all this afternoon, all this early morning, just sleeping right through it. But unfortunately, I do have to get up bright and early to let her out and give her breakfast and morning pills. As you know, English bulldogs, they have a lot of health problems.
Yeah, take her outside and the hail comes down, the lightning strikes.
Could care less.
Really?
No, I mean, she's really
getting
slow.
pelted by ice balls the size of quarters, no problem.
She acts the same way, whether it's raining or if it's 80 and sunny. She just goes out and takes her time. I'd say it's about an average of 5 minutes per yard visit.
Taking advantage of you, or does it always do that?
Always does that.
I thought maybe it just liked having you along. Decided I'll just take him around and show him some of the sights here in the yard.
Just not a fast-moving dog. Our English bulldogs.
And of course, it's spring break week. So many people are out of town this week.
Yeah, like I said, I'm dog sitting for the family. They're out of town. My mom and her foreign exchange student, they were actually at Madison Square Garden last night taking in a Knicks game.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, my gosh.
I was so jealous.
I'm going to say, that had to kill you.
I was just sitting at home watching the dog, and I got a text from Mom. Hey, I wish you were here at Madison Square Garden watching the Knicks.
How were their seats?
Really good. I'll show you.
Really?
I'll show you a picture later.
That's what I say. Hey, Mom, just kind of without anybody noticing, just kind of put me on FaceTime and let me see the game from your perspective.
Yeah, no, but super cool stuff. But yeah, spring break time.
Awesome. All right, so John Nolan joins us in the first hour. Second hour, we've got kind of a fun surprise for you.
We do.
I'm not even going to tell you what it is. It's just going to be a fun surprise at 5:20. We're going to go back in the archives because we've got something that I think is timely and also will be entertaining to kind of go back and walk memory lane a little bit. So we'll do that in our second hour today. Of course, still top story for us locally here in Indiana. It's all about the portal because you've got IU trying to get a roster built. You've got Purdue, and for the first time, Matt Painter's having to be pretty active in the portal because another name from the Boilermakers roster is going portaling. We found out that Cam Heide has put his name in the portal. This one does surprise me a bit. Miles Colvin, I wasn't shocked by, based on what we saw from him this year. Lack of improvement. Actually, he kind of went backwards this year. Didn't get probably the minutes he expected. But I thought the Colvin family being so connected to Purdue, that would be a tough thing for him to do, would be to say goodbye and transfer out of West Lafayette. But Miles Colvin, he was in the portal, and now he's joined by Cam Heide, who is going portaling. Now, I thought Heide, he didn't have the kind of year, but sometimes you can't blame the staff for that. You've got to blame yourself. You've got to look internally at how you produced. And if you didn't produce the way you were expected to produce, this kind of thing's going to happen. But by the end of the year, he was starting to make a good comeback, and he hit a couple of big shots in the game against Houston. But unfortunately for the Boilermakers, it looks like the road ends for Cam Heide. He is now in the portal.
Yeah, I agree. It was a bit of a surprise just considering how strong the ties him and his family are to Purdue and the Boilermakers. But like you said, I mean...
No, not for Heide, for Miles Colvin.
Yeah, Colvin. Heide didn't surprise me quite as much. But yeah, Colvin caught me off guard.
No, but Heide, I actually probably was more surprised by Heide.
Really?
Well, I just felt like, he's going to have an opportunity. I don't know that he's a guy that's going to be in super high demand among programs better than Purdue.
Right.
I mean, you have to consider if you're going to enter the portal and you want a program as good or better than the one you're at, you've got to be an upgrade to whatever that program currently has. And, you saw what happened to Mason Gillis. He decided to go to a high-quality program, get himself a Duke degree. I suppose he was getting a degree. I don't know if he already had one from Purdue, but it's not bad to have a Duke degree for your future. But he had to do it with the sacrifice of barely playing, if playing at all. And so, you saw a Boilermaker who was in a similar position, I think, to Cam Heide. And if that's what Heide wants, to risk sitting on the bench, maybe to go to the school of his choice or get a degree from the place of his choice, then I guess more power to him. But, the number of people in the portal, it is one heck of a buffet. I mean, you can choose whatever you'd like. Everything is on the menu right now. You want to, it's almost like you want to go in. It's like AI. You want to go in and build the perfect point guard. You probably could build all of the criteria you want. If it's quickness, if it's size, if it's, left-hander that shoots threes, drives both sides of the lane, can finish at the rim, gets 4.5 to 5 assists a game. You could probably plug all this in and boom, it'll make you a point guard and it'll even tell you who he is and where he's transferring from. That's about what you got right now.
It's crazy. I mean, it's just, like you said, it's an absolute carousel, and I feel like you can pick any college basketball program in the nation and you can follow along with a storyline regarding the transfer portal.
So yesterday, I gave you quite the tease. I talked a little bit. If you're listening to the show, you know that I was insinuating at the idea the Mastodons might have someone committing to the program out of the portal. And it happened. Didn't happen during the show, which I still am kind of a little bit. Come on, people. Got to tell these recruits.
Get it in by 5:45.
Yeah, you got to make those announcements, got to post them, got to get them on social media. And maybe even send me a message to let me know that it's out there so I don't miss it. But last night, Ibrahim Kaba from St. Bonaventure, get this, 6'9" guard.
Yeah, that's
actually
crazy.
Well, he calls himself a guard, but doesn't every 6'9" guy call himself a guard?
They all want to be.
Nobody wants to be known as post because it sounds so limiting.
They don't even want to be forwards anymore.
It's a positionless game.
They want to be guard forwards.
Well, and it's interesting because I've seen this guy described as a hybrid. I've seen him described as a versatile wing.
It's always a versatile wing.
Yeah, and he can really play anything from the 2 to the 5. Now, even though I just said it's a positionless game, which I think the Mastodons would like to have somewhat of a positionless game where all 5 guys can step outside and hit threes. And that's what they found in this 6'9" guy. Handles the ball, can take it down the floor. He can finish at the rim. Obviously, he can attack the basket. He can get some offensive rebounds. He can shoot the 3. I mean, he's got just a great skill set. And the best part about it is he went to St. Bonaventure of the A-10 last year, redshirted, which allowed him to pull almost a John Conchar, and he showed up at 200 pounds, and he's leaving at about 220, 225. So the Dons are getting a better version of him, but still with 4 years remaining in eligibility. So it's like bringing in a freshman that's already got a sophomore body, where he's 6'9", 220, long, strong, and athletic. And, this guy, I mean, obviously no stats since he redshirted, but in high school, he was highly sought after. In fact, out of high school, he had offers from North Texas, Richmond, Chattanooga, East Tennessee State, Miami of Ohio, Robert Morris, Duquesne, Fordham, Stony Brook, Wyoming, New Hampshire, Boston, and 5 or 6 others. And so a lot of schools wanted to get him. Many good mid-majors, maybe even some of the low-power conferences like the A-10 conference. But he ended up going to St. Bonaventure, decided after the redshirt year that he wanted to find a place to go that was different, maybe a different style, maybe just a different staff, whatever the case. But it's almost like Bobby Planutis 2.0, because Bobby Planutis, who the Dons had as a 6'8" corner shooter, I laugh because it's like if anybody wants to think of Bobby Planutis, the first thing you think about is him draining corner threes.
Definitely.
6'8" guy. And you had Matt Holba before that. So the Dons have had a lot of success with like 6'8" guys with a versatile skill set that can really shoot the corner triple. And obviously Kaba will probably get that chance. But Bobby Planutis went on to not only play at Purdue Fort Wayne, but find a girlfriend and find a deal in Europe. So, hey, things worked out pretty well for Bobby P.
Not bad at all.
Don't call him Marcy. That's my joke. All right, let's see. Pacers back at it tonight.
Yep, they are in action.
And, I've got to come clean because I upset myself yesterday, and I didn't have a chance to correct it.
Ah, yes.
Because
we still don't have that up there.
Somebody put a schedule on the wall. Actually, someone didn't put a schedule on the wall, so
right.
The one I looked at was actually a week old.
I'm going to print that for you so we can get that up there. I don't have
one up here at all now because you took that one down, so I didn't screw it up again. But yesterday I told you the Pacers would be on the radio tonight taking on the Lakers. Nope.
That was last week.
That's why I thought, well, I must be at L.A. because they just played the Lakers at home. But no, it is actually a home game tonight for the Pacers taking on Charlotte, right?
Yep, they're taking on the Charlotte Hornets, so that should be a win for the Pacers tonight.
Oh, should be. But, these kind of games always scare me. Now, they've gotten much better in the second half of the season at taking care of business like they did against Washington, where they
160 something.
Yeah, they almost reached orbit with what they were putting up there. 160 was 164 was the total.
Yeah, it was something
164,
like
109 or something like that.
Yeah.
But maybe they can do that against the Hornets tonight, a team that they should beat up on and try to keep themselves in firm grasp of the 4 spot because you got Detroit on the heels, the Bucks, of course, right there chasing.
It's all right there. It was 162 to 109. We gave them that credit for an extra 2-pointer.
Okay, check the record books. 162 to 109. But the Pacers, Hornets tonight, and we will have the radio coverage, all the play-by-play right here at 1380 The Fan and 100.9 FM. Anything happening you want to talk about, Adam?
Oh, I got a couple things.
Let's do it. It's today's top headlines with Adam Lundy.
Well, this should come as no huge surprise to anybody, but it's still now official. West Virginia transfer guard and son of head coach Darian DeVries, Tucker DeVries, has officially signed with the Indiana Hoosiers.
Wow. Did he get his red shirt? His medical red shirt? Do we know? Is he eligible? Okay, because, I got to retell this story real quick now that you brought it up. Last night, they were doing of course, the media videos with the recruits that come on campus in the Indiana uniform, and they had Connor Enright, who we'll tell you more about coming up. But in the video with Connor Enright was Tucker DeVries in his Indiana uniform. So pretty much a dead giveaway. I like you said, it's now official.
It is official.
But there was never going to be any other direction that was going to take.
No, I don't think so. DeVries, of course, was a two-time Missouri Valley Player of the Year at Drake and sustained a season-ending shoulder injury last season after 8 games at West Virginia. He'll start from day 1 at IU. Breanne January is returning to the franchise that drafted her. The Indiana Fever announced today that January, the team's number 6 draft pick out of Arizona State in 2009, will be an assistant coach on Stephanie White's staff. She will round out the coaching staff for the 2025 season. And you mentioned the Indiana Pacers. Well, with the Trailblazers' win over the 7th-place Hawks last night, the Pacers did clinch a top 6 finish in the Eastern Conference, which guarantees they'll be in the playoffs without having to go through the play-in round. Now it's just about holding on to that 4th seed and getting that home spot for the first round of the playoffs. And quickly checking in on MLB, it's the bottom of the 11th, and the Brewers and Royals are tied at 2. White Sox are in a rain delay against the Twins. The Cubs are up 4-0 on the Athletics out in Sacramento. Guardians and Padres scoreless, top of the 1st, and Tigers Mariners scoreless, top of the 1st.
Cubs are playing. I wonder if we've lost Ryan for the time being.
We might have.
We'll just put out a shout out to Ryan, our buddy in LaGrange, who's a huge Cubs fan. And it's hard for us to keep him here on the Sports Rush, even though he listens to us religiously when the Cubs are in action. And so, Ryan, if you're listening, please tweet us, text us, whatever you'd like to do to let us know you're listening. And if we don't get a tweet, Ryan, we're going to talk some...
We'll just assume we've lost you to the
We're going to talk some stuff about you here. I'm just wondering. All right, there's today's top headlines with Adam Lundy. Still coming up on the show. Big contracts to talk about out west with the parent club of the Fort Wayne TinCaps. And it involves one of the former TinCaps. We'll tell you about that. Also, John Nolan is going to be joining us live from Parvkiew Field, where the TinCaps have a special evening planned for fans. We'll get all the details with John Nolan coming up in about 15 minutes from now. Hey, don't forget, if your car needs any kind of servicing or maintenance, you want to take that car to Cruzy Automotive Service. Trust me, I've been going to Cruzy for many, many years. In fact, they've been in business serving Northeast Indiana for over 40 years. They've got quality mechanics. They'll treat you like a name, like a person, not like a number. No, you will be treated differently at Cruzy Automotive Service, and so will your car. That's why when you take your car there, you can tell them, hey, you know what? I just want a spring checkup. I want to make sure all my belts, hoses, battery, tires, brakes, everything's in good order after a tough winter. And they'll check it out for you while they give you that oil change, just $19.99. Tell them you want the Sports Rush Special, and you can get almost half price on your oil change, just $19.99. Don't delay. You can call them right now and get your appointment at Cruzy Automotive Service on Lima Road, north of Wallen, south of Till, right behind the Shell gas station. Call 489-1089. That's 489-1089 for Cruzy Automotive Service. Parkview Sports Medicine text line 260-447-8500. If you've got questions, comments, or suggestions on this hump day, spring break week, love to hear from you. A lot of college basketball. Watched some last night. Watched a little bit of 2 different tournaments going on. Watched the NIT, and I caught the Crown.
Interesting. Yeah, it's a lot of tournaments to follow along with nowadays.
Yeah, there's a lot going on right now. And, of course, you're counting down to the Final Four with the 4 top seeds competing in San Antonio. And next year they will be competing in Indianapolis.
Yeah, going from the Alamo Dome to Lucas Oil.
Is it too early to start planning the Sports Rush on location at the Final Four?
Never too early, my friend.
No.
That'll be fun.
Yeah, it is Saturday, so do you think they'll send us to San Antonio? Oh, you thought I was talking about next year.
Yeah, I thought you meant Lucas Oil.
No, I was thinking San Antonio would be a great trip right now. Look at the weather we got. Yeah, I don't think we're going to be able to make it to San Antonio.
No, probably no Alamo Dome for us.
They might get us a couple of coins and tell us there's gas money. Enjoy Indy. But the Final Four is just down the road next year.
Yeah, and they did the test run. Had some of the games of the Elite Eight there.
Yeah, they made sure how they were going to do the seating arrangement and everything as kind of a run through for the regionals and the Sweet 16 and the Elite 8. Everything's all set for next year. 260-447-8500. All right, so big news coming out of San Diego as the Padres announced that they have inked Jackson Merrill to a 9-year extension. What is it? Is it 2034, 2035, 2036? I don't know. He's going to be around for so long.
It's an extension through the 2034 season.
Do you think in 2034 he's still playing with the Padres? Yes or no?
Yeah, why not?
You think he's going to be one of those guys that hangs around 9 years?
Why not? Him and Tatis in the outfield for the next 9-10 years?
I never saw the dollar amount associated with this.
So it says sources confirm that the 9 extension years are worth $135 million. The deal includes a $30 million club option for the 10th season and has a maximum value of $204 million.
So it's basically a $15 million deal for 9 years, $15 million per year.
I feel like
seems pretty reasonable.
That's what I was going to say. I mean, you see a lot of players getting a lot more money.
Yeah,
I think
that's a team-friendly deal, especially when you go that far out, because you got to figure the way salaries have been going that, he might be worth $25 million a year, $30 million a year if he keeps up what he's doing.
Yeah, no question about it.
By the end of that contract, making only $15 million, he could be grossly underpaid. But I think Jackson Merrill's a guy that I think he's content, he's happy where he's at, he's enjoying San Diego, and again, who can't live off $15 million a year? Do you have to?
Right.
If you like it, you're happy, and you got a nice, comfortable contract. It's going to take care of you for 9 years. I guess why not?
Don't mess up a good thing. I mean,
who are we to sit here and say, "Oh, I think he should have gotten more"?
Right, and it's like they say, the grass isn't always greener on the other side. Even if you do make
tell that to the 1,700 players in the portal right now.
There might be more green on the other side.
Maybe the portal's what made him go ahead and get it signed right now. It's like, I'm going to take the sure thing. But Jackson Merrill, 9-year extension, with it being that he's going to be a Padre for a long time, we thought it would be fun today to go back in the archives, because it was almost exactly 2 years ago, almost to the day. Might have been to the day. I can't remember exactly. I got to
find out what day it was.
I can't remember exactly what day it was, but it was about this time of year when the TinCaps were putting on a Meet the Team night, and we just happened to catch Jackson Merrill and pulled him onto the Sports Rush and got a chance to sit down and talk to him for a little over 10 minutes.
Yeah, I won't say held him hostage, but we made sure to grab him.
Once he got engaged with us,
he had a great time.
He couldn't leave. But we've got a replay of that conversation we had with Jackson Merrill, and it's kind of fun to go back because at that time, he had hopes and dreams, and here he was getting ready to start his career at the high A level.
Yeah.
He's just excited about the season starting, probably not envisioning that he's a year away from being the starting center fielder for the Padres.
Runner-up of MLB Rookie of the Year.
Yeah, that he's a year away from being the National League runner-up of Rookie of the Year. Should have won it.
Yeah, I went back and looked at the archive just 2 days off. It was April 4th of 2023.
Yeah. April 4th. So it's almost exactly 2 years ago that we had a chance to visit with Jackson Merrill. And we're going to replay that for you coming up. We'll do it at 5:20.
Yeah, I think that sounds good.
Because we're going to be talking to John Nolan here in just a few minutes. But, Jackson Merrill locked up by the Padres. And Padres obviously off to a good start. Cubs are ahead today. I don't know what they did yesterday.
I'll find out for you.
Usually, I
think they won. Yep, they won. They won 7-4 over the Athletics.
Also, speaking of contract extensions.
What do you got?
it's kind of interesting how the portal can not only maybe give players new life, second chances, but it may also save coaches. Robert Morris, Andy Toole, we were curious whether he was going to survive a year ago.
Mm-hmm.
They finished a very disappointing, I think, 9th place or something like that, 9th or 10th place in the Horizon League. They had not had a good run for like 2 or 3 years in a row. And you're kind of like, Andy Toole's won a lot of games, but most of those were in the NEC. And, they'd never really made their mark in the Horizon League. Well, Robert Morris last year went out in the offseason, and they ended up bringing in 4 starters out of the portal. They end up winning the regular season championship. They win the postseason tournament, and they go to the NCAA tournament. And what a difference a year makes, because sources, according to John Rothstein, that Robert Morris's Andy Toole has received a multi-year contract extension.
Hey, wow.
So you go from, is he going to have a job? Is he going to be coming back? I don't know. It's 50-50 whether or not he returns, but 1 year later, he's getting a thank you very much, and we'd like to reward you with some more years and more money. That's pretty
saved
good deal.
by the transfer bell.
Absolutely.
My goodness.
All right, we got to take a break because we're going to be talking to John Nolan when we return. He is at Parvkiew Field. We've got to give you some details of what's going on with tonight's event. Of course, probably a lot of people questioning what do they do with this weather, and we'll get answers from John live on the spot reporting from Mr. Nolan. We'll talk to him next. It is the Sports Rush on 1380 The Fan and 100.9 FM. 260-447-8500, the Parkview Sports Medicine text line. If you got any questions, comments, or suggestions, love to hear from you. 260-447-8500. Of course, it is opening week for TinCaps baseball. They'll get started out of Parkview Field coming up this Friday. Tonight, a special fan night. We'll get some details with our next guest as John Nolan joins us. And, John, before we get talking about everything happening tonight, get an update on what's happening as far as the weather concerns, got to give you a big congrats. Exciting story. And you and I have talked about it, but I saw you posted on social media that you happen to be in the right place at the right time and network with the right people and had a opportunity to call an NBA basketball game on the Brooklyn Nets radio network. How cool was that? Tell us the story so everybody can, if they haven't seen it, they can enjoy what a cool moment it was.
Yeah, appreciate that, Brett. Thank you very much. And, first, actually, it was back in late February that I was in the right place at the right time after calling a Mad Ants game down in Indy in the afternoon, where then that evening, last minute, so to speak, a couple hours before game time, the Pacers had a need for someone to jump in, pinch hit as the host and sideline reporter during their game that night against the Nuggets. And so that was pretty neat, especially since that was a night in which Pacers basketball was right here on 1380 The Fan and 100.9 FM. So, I was cool that I was on airwaves that I often am on, but then on some others as well around the Pacers radio network. But, yeah, going back a couple Saturdays ago when the Brooklyn Nets were playing in Indy against the Pacers, it was the night before, that Friday night, close to 10 o'clock, when I received a message from one of the Nets analysts, Tim Capstraw, asking me if I potentially would be available to come down the next night. And, obviously I was caught off guard by that. I am friendly with the Nets radio crew since I actually grew up in New Jersey when the Nets played there and have made some relationships over the years. But turned out that the Nets' primary radio play-by-play guy, Chris Carino, he was on March Madness coverage that weekend, so you could hear him here on 1380 The Fan as he was in that Providence region for the first couple rounds. And so the guy who was assigned to fill in, Bob Husler, who's a longtime voice in the New York City area, fortunately, Bob lost his voice. And so, yeah, it was deemed the night before that he was on the status report, probably questionable at best, maybe even doubtful. And so, yeah, I got myself ready to go on about 19, 20 hours notice down there to call that game on the Brooklyn Nets radio network, WFAN sports radio in New York City. And so, yeah, quite a thrill. It happened very, very quickly, but I'm grateful for the opportunity. And, yeah, thanks to everyone here in Fort Wayne who's allowed me to invade their airwaves over the years to help set me up for that spot.
Well, admit it, John, when you got that text on Friday night asking if you'd be available, you'd have missed your own wedding to get down there and do that game.
Yes, hopefully Nicole's not listening right now, but I would not contest you on that statement.
So, also one of your assignments during the TinCaps off season is covering the Mastodons, both men and women, on ESPN Plus, and nice long season, record-breaking year for women's basketball. Unfortunately, came to an end this week. What happened, John? I filled in for you one game against Cleveland State, and it happened to be the only game all year that I filled in, and it was the only game all year that the Mastodons lost at home. So I thought, I'm not getting anywhere near this. I'm out of sight. You've got the game. I thought, John's undefeated this year. There's no way he could lose this game. And John, you lost. You got beat by Cleveland State. And of course, it's always the announcer that takes the wins and losses. What happened?
No question. And, yeah, you're off the hook because I will admit I went into that broadcast pretty confident because, yeah, I was undefeated on the year. All me, right? But, yeah, what a fun journey for both of us to get a chance to be involved. We've been used to the winning seasons on the men's basketball side, and now here over these last few years under Coach Mark Castano, women's basketball really on the rise. And, again, you've done a great job covering the team as well, and I've heard you say it. But just such a great group to get to follow and be a small part of their journey because not only were they really talented, really skilled, hardworking, but just a positive, classy group to be around such a fun brand of basketball that they played. And unfortunately, I think it came down to the fact that they had whooped Cleveland State in the Horizon League tournament semifinals, and I think Cleveland State definitely came in with revenge in mind, and they were a really hungry group, and so they played one of their better games. They were kind of inconsistent. I mean, we say inconsistent. Here they are at 27 wins and counting. They've established themselves as one of the top mid-major programs in the country in recent years, but it was a situation where the Dons didn't have as much of a margin for error as perhaps they had at other points in the season, and kind of a shame they didn't really have their A game on that particular night. But nevertheless, I think for years from now, we'll remember the group, especially the 6 players who now are set to graduate out of eligibility, including Sydney Graber from here out of Homestead and Sydney Freeman out of Central Noble. And then, the 3 stalwarts over these last 4+ years, and Amelia Broman-Schenkel, Audra Emerson, Jaslyn Limbo, and then Lauren Ross. I mean, I don't know if you heard this one, Brett, but since stats were officially recorded by the NCAA online going back to 2001, Lauren Ross is literally the only player in women's college basketball who has led the country in both three-point shooting percentage and free throw shooting percentage in the same season. So that's just crazy. And to think that she's someone who not once but twice earlier in her college career was sidelined after having to have surgery to repair a torn ACL, just unreal stuff. And so, yeah, grateful for the chance to cover the Dons.
Yep, and now we've got both programs doing quite a bit of portaling, but good news, I don't know if you happen to catch this because you've been kind of tied up and busy, but the Mastodons had a good catch last night, getting a commitment from a 6'9", now they call him guard, but he can play anywhere from the 2 to the 5 position, and of course it's positionless game now, but a 6'9", wing, forward, guard, whatever you want to call him, Ibrahim Kaba out of St. Bonaventure. Looks like a pretty good catch for the Mastodons to take somebody out of the A10 conference.
I'm excited about that for sure, especially when you consider the last time we got a guy from St. Bonaventure. It was Bobby Planutis. And over 3 years, he turned into a 1,000-point scorer and one of the top shooters in the country. And so, yeah, also, even though I've been here, obviously, calling Fort Wayne home for more than a decade now, as I touched on earlier, I did grow up in New Jersey. And so, here, I'm glad we've got a Jersey guy. This might be the first Jersey guy in the Dons program, so I'm excited to have some company here.
All I can think of when you say that is you meeting him and saying, "You from Jersey? I'm from Jersey." I feel like Joe Piscopo is going to break out between you and him sometime.
You're dating yourself there, Brett. Yeah. I was gonna date myself like a decade to the MTV reality show Jersey Shore. I was gonna say I don't need to say anything, just pump my fist like they do there. But
yeah, I think I'm going back to like the 70s or early 80s. So yeah, I'm definitely dating myself. I've even gone back further than you could go back. But all right, so let's talk about what's at hand right now. TinCaps set to open a season on Friday. The boys arrived in town over the weekend, and a lot of energy and excitement about this roster, including Leo DeVries. What could you tell us about the guys that showed up to be TinCaps so far to start the season?
Yeah, well, Leo is the headliner. 18 years old, considered the top international free agent prospect last year out of the Dominican Republic. He has now jumped Ethan Salas to be ranked as the top Padres prospect. He held his own for a few weeks in big league spring training with the Padres in Arizona. You know, there was some question as to whether or not we'd get Leo or whether he'd be on the fast track already to Double-A San Antonio. So really excited that we have him. This is, something we shouldn't take for granted that year after year the Padres seem to have at least one what I'll call mega prospect who's wound up coming through Fort Wayne. Brett, I'm sure you saw the headlines today out of San Diego. Guys that we had here as of the summer of 2023, less than 2 years ago, Jackson Merrill. I remember you offering to buy him a cup of coffee when he was here in Fort Wayne. I think right now he could maybe offer to get you a coffee franchise.
Yeah, I'd buy him concessions at Coastal Carolina football. That's about all I can afford right now.
He's got a $135 million payday coming, so congratulations to Jackson. And we certainly hope now that Leo will be someone who could perhaps be in line for a deal like that down the road. That said, again, he's only 18, and look at the forecast we've got coming here, coming up. And it'll be a challenge for everybody, especially those who haven't been in the cold weather before, to get the bats going early. But, he's a really advanced hitter, shortstop, switch hitter. So DeVries, the headliner, but then we've got 14 guys who had at least some experience here with the Caps over the last year or two. So, shaping up to be a fun group. And I know you were talking about it before. Tonight is our all-access event. Scheduled to start at 5 o'clock. As I look out right now, we've even got the gates open early. So we've already got a bunch of fans flooding in here to watch the team take batting practice due to the weather, not on the field, but in the indoor batting cages. And so those doors are up so you can be right there. And actually, it's even better for fans, frankly, than watching guys on the field, because now you're an arm's length away from where they're swinging behind net. So pretty cool event. You can also get tours here tonight. Check out areas like our U.S. Foods 400 Club, our suite level loft presented by St. Francis, get down even into one of the dugouts. And then we'll have an autograph session. So FYI, if you're in the car here trying to figure out maybe some plans on this Wednesday evening, this event will have autographs from about 6:30 to 7. And then it'll wrap up after the autographs. And in the meantime, you can see the guys practice. And we've got the store open. We've got concessions open. We've got value menu pricing on the concessions. So especially those on a spring break looking for something to do that's pretty darn affordable, this would be it.
John, you mentioned it, and I want to follow up because I talked about it yesterday in the program about when the Padres put these rosters together. And I know last year's manager, Mike Daly, has probably a pretty significant input into who ends up on what roster. But the one thing that Fort Wayne offers that no other affiliate of the Padres does offer is the opportunity to play in cold weather. Now, that's not a benefit, but that's just a reality. And I would think maybe the Padres would want to get everybody the experience of having to play in cold weather just because Major League Baseball starts their schedule in March.
No, you're 100% right. I think that's something that is, I guess we'll call it a necessary evil, because while the Padres are currently playing in sunny San Diego, guess what? Next week, or in a couple weeks, coming up this weekend, they are playing at Wrigley Field against the Cubs. So they're going to be going through the same weather we are. Looking ahead later this month, they're playing in Detroit. And then ultimately for the Padres, who have become a fixture in the playoffs, right? You're competing against teams like New York and Philadelphia, and maybe even in a World Series in Boston. You know, obviously these cities that are going to be cold come October. on some nights. So it really is a good experience for these guys to go through it here at the lower levels of the minors where, at the end of the day, they're really not going to be judged too harshly for what the stats are.
And once again, tonight's event, you've got the players right now with some batting practice up until 6 o'clock. There'll be a chance to get some autographs between 6:30 and 7. And looks like everything's on. In fact, if you need to know the weather forecast, you can just ask Keith Winter. I think sometimes he's a better meteorologist than people who are meteorologists. He always knows what the weather's going to do. But it looks like everything's a go tonight. And it is a free event, right?
Yeah, it's like free to enter. So the value menu concessions, but those tours that I mentioned are free. Watching batting practice is free. The only thing that so far has been affected by the weather would be that the kids zone, the Cordy kids zone, is going to be closed due to the wind. We're trying to keep everyone safe here tonight, but at the same time, the autographs free. That's on. And again, the autographs will be about 6:30 to 7.
I'll let you get back to it, John. I know you got a busy evening ahead, and thanks so much for jumping on with us. Appreciate it.
Yeah, no, my pleasure. Thanks for having me. And looking to the weekend, Brett, I tap into you, as you know, to be our meteorologist in the press box. So hopefully, I don't even want to know right now because last I checked and heard maybe not the best, but by Friday, hopefully you can give us a better one.
Yeah, it doesn't look good right now, but we'll see how the weekend goes. Appreciate it. Thanks, John.
All right.
John Nolan joining us here on the Sports Rush. Of course, John will be calling many of the radio games, primarily the road action this year, sharing duties with Jaden Taylor, who will be the new sidekick for John Nolan and also the sidekick for Mike Maas for home radio broadcast. I, once again, will have the responsibility of keeping John in line on the TV.
You got to do what you got to do, man.
Select broadcasts are going to be on my TV. Also, all season long, the Bally Live Sports app or the Bally Live app. Games are free. Plus on Major League Baseball and Minor League Baseball TV. You can catch those streaming. So TinCaps Baseball, very easy to access. Be sure you listen all season long right here, home of the TinCaps on the radio, 1380 The Fan and 100.9 FM. And a reminder, as John was talking about Jackson Merrill, we're going to replay the interview we had with Jackson Merrill before he was a mega multi-million-dollar star with the Padres. Back when he was just a TinCap, showing up with big hopes and big dreams.
Yeah, I know it's fun. We act like we're so far removed from it, but really it wasn't that long.
2 years ago.
Yep.
2 years ago.
Yeah.
And, now he's considered one of the better players in the game. I think he's becoming a household name.
I'll tell you what, he's on my MLB fantasy team.
Is he?
Oh, yeah.
He's
been great.
Good catch.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, he's been a good pickup for you so far.
He's been great, yeah.
260-447-8500, the Parvkiew Sports Medicine text line, 260-447-8500. Coming up in hour number 2, we do have that talk with Jackson Merrill. Also, a lot more portal news involving IU, Purdue, and Purdue Fort Wayne women's basketball. We'll talk about that and plenty more as we take you home on a Wednesday with the Sports Rush on 1380 The Fan and 100.9 FM.